Welcome to the, what is the show? The seminar, the daily seminar today. What a fun day it's going to be. We have a turf course, a sloppy main track. I didn't realize that, a sloppy main track. We did have some rain this morning, and of course, our final Monday card, Pete, with the Perfect 10 mandatory giveaway.
$25,000 guaranteed in the Perfect 10. It starts in race number 1 in just 58 minutes. You have to have your homework done already here. We're going to try to help you out with the Perfect 10 here this afternoon. 10 cents the minimum investment, $25,000 guaranteed. And if you don't pick 10, don't throw your tickets away, as this is the force-out day, so whoever picks the most amount of winners will get to share the pool here this afternoon. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I mean, even if it's a tough day and there's only 5 winners, if you happen to have that 5, you would take down the whole pool. So it's not just only if you have 10. As Pete said, it's if whatever the most winners are, and if you are alone, you get all the money. Otherwise, you share whatever.
It's kind of the definition of the parimutuel system. You have to beat everybody else.
There you go. See, I knew he'd find a way of saying it. That would make me look like a jerk. First race today, 6 furlongs, claimers, fillies and mares, 3 and up, $6,250, non-winners of 3, and I like the number 5 in here, Lady Con, and I will go first. This one is stepping up to the next level, and after it really looked like this horse just stepped on the gas last time away and pulled away from a group of 6,252 lifetime claimers at the distance. Now, if you look at this horse's record on the main track, pretty good. 2 wins, 3 from money on the main track.
Yeah, you can see the early money's on 5, Lady Con. She should trip out pretty nice in here. A couple of cheap speed horses that she'll be able to get first run on the closers, both Who Is This Lady and my top play in the race, number 8, La Ranchera. I'm looking for La Ranchera to run back to her race 2 back. She regressed a little bit last time out when losing to My Mom Santina. I think she'll be better here this afternoon, and she's a viable alternative to the favorite. I don't know that anybody in their right mind wants to start the pick 10 with a single.
No.
At least not given the implications today. I think you got to go 3 deep, and they're the 3 we're using. 5,
yeah,
7,
I mean,
8.
La Ranchera, I like that horse too, but I just couldn't get past the 2 for 32 record, so I had to put it somewhere on my ticket, but on the top. We also have the number 7, Who Is This Lady, hoping to make amends. Took the overland route last time out, 5 wide, finished 3rd as the favorite at this level and distance. Now beaten favorite, Pete, twice in a row.
Yeah, she is. She's 0 for the 4 over this racetrack, but she's run 3 or 4 good races over it. Edgar Zayas has the call today. She's a tricky horse to ride. She makes a big, long, sustained charge. You don't want to have her too close to the pace, but you don't want to drop back too far against this field because there's not a whole lot of dedicated carrying speed in here.
Well, our second race this afternoon is 7.5 furlongs on the firm turf course. Starter optional claimers, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, $12,500. 2 scratches in here. Number 1, Flash Song. Also scratch number 8, Angel's Girl. I went with the 7, Seneca Destiny, and you went with the number 3 in here, and that is Maydell, who I also have on my ticket.
Yeah, I think that this race is either you have to single Maydell or you have to go 4 deep. Those are your options in the pick 10, in my opinion, because Maydell is hardly a, quote, cinch, but I like the way she trips out here. Spectacular Me, the 2 horse in this race. We both used her second. She's run very, very well in her last 2 races, but she's been accorded a very favorable pace scenario in each of those last 2 races. The great news for her is that Flash Song scratched, so now she has less of a pace to worry about. And if she can make the lead and comfortable enough again here this afternoon, she definitely is probably a horse that could win 3 in a row here. She's undefeated over this turf course. But again, if you look at her last 2 races and you watch those replays, she ran really well, but she got everything her own way. Maydell, on the other hand, had to come around last time out under jockey Edgar Prado. But the scratch of Flash Song mitigates my enthusiasm on Maydell, because now tactically, Spectacular Me looks like she's going to get it her own way again. So I think you might have to go 4 deep here. Not only the 3 we're using, but also add Phoenix Court. She's won 2 of her last 3.
Well, you mentioned Edgar. He rode Maydell last time, but he will be on number 7, Seneca Destiny, today. This one is back in South Florida after rallying 4 wide to defeat $50,000 starter company at the competitive Keeneland meeting. Mike Maker winning races here, about 40% rate. And the Drainer and jockey combo, who we've been mentioning a lot, Prado and Maker, are about 58% now because they won another one. I had it as 55, but I didn't add. They had another win, I think, yesterday. So whatever that percentage is, believe me, they're doing well. So if you're a jockey follower, but Prado rides first call for Maker, at least so far at the Gulfstream Park West meeting. Spectacular Me, now perfect. 3 for 3 on the Gulfstream Park West turf course. Never been beaten here.
That's true. And Seneca Destiny is a fascinating horse. She did something that not a whole lot of conditioners in North America can do, improve off of Steve Asmussen. They took this horse in Texas for $5,000 off of Asmussen. They jumped her to 20 off the claim and run white back for 20. I'm sure that Asmussen wasn't too thrilled about that. Then went to Keeneland and won a starter allowance for 50. She's a much better filly now. She's headed in the right direction. I think she's a must-use in your perfect 10 if you're not taking a stand in this race. But again, in my view, if you're not taking a stand, you have to go 4 deep because you don't want to get knocked out by somebody that makes a little sense. And the 4 horses that make sense are the 2, 3, 4, and 7.
Well, we got 2, 3, 4, and 7. So 4 he's trying to give you here. 3 in the first race. So we're in pretty deep for the perfect 10. We're going to have to get some singles somewhere here.
And we have one coming up. A beautiful segue for you there.
5.5 furlongs. Claim is 3 and up. 6,250. Non-winners of 2 in life. Scratch the 1. Gallabate. Jockey on the 7 is Jose Alvarez. And Peter's talking about the number 5, War Artist.
Yes, I am. War Artist is a horse that's dropping in class here this afternoon. You have to take a leap of faith that he's better than his last 2 races. But if you use figures, he doesn't necessarily have to be better than his last 2 races. His last race is plenty good enough to beat this field. There is actually a pretty big class distinction here in South Florida between the 12,000 non-2 and the bottom level 62.5 non-2, as you can see, because there's nobody else coming in from the 12.5 ranks in here this afternoon. Come On Charlie looks like he is a logical contender to beat him, but if you consider that he's the most logical winner if War Artist doesn't win, I love War Artist because Come On Charlie's dirt form is less than inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. And Manny Blue Boy's making his first start since defeating $12,500 maidens here by a nose. That was in the slop, which we do have today. At least we're starting today that way. That was on June 8th. But this horse has not been working very well in the morning. I mean, nothing to really jump off the page. So it was a shaky call, but it is a barn that is known to pop, and you got Paco Lopez in the saddle.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that, as Ronnie says, if you're going to come up with a ticket that's even remotely affordable, you're going to have to take some stands. Not just one stand. You're going to have to take 3 or 4 of them if you're going to come up with an affordable ticket and then be able to have the coverage to get through the tougher races. For me, this is one of those races that's really not all that difficult on paper. You have to take a stand here and hope that War Artist can get home. I think he's definitely the horse. I also think that he's going to set a pretty good trip under Gaffleone because I think that number 4, Steadfast Cat's going to go to the front, and I think War Artist can lap on him too on the outside, get first run on everybody else.
Yeah, well, we basically see the 3 horse was just a horse I put in third. I really wasn't enamored with his main track form, but ran okay on the turf in his last couple of races, but I don't know if he can translate that, so maybe we do have our single air with number 5, War Artist. With that, we'll flip the page and go to the 4th race. This one on the turf, 1 mile and 1/16. Maiden claimers, 35 3-year-olds and up with main track only. We're going to show you a video from 11-3, and it's Candyman Can turning for home and getting stuck behind horses. And if we had sound here, you would Pete saying his whole line. He's got nowhere to go right here about now.
Well, what is the line? All dressed up with no place to go?
Exactly, something like that. Yeah,
that's
what you're saying right now.
That was what I was looking at. I could see my name under your notes there. Candyman Can gets a good trip off the cover now, and he's supposed to finish a little better than he does. He still lacked clear passage. If he tipped to the 3 path there, now he's got to wait another 16th of a mile to get out. He does get out, and then he comes on to finishes okay. He's a definite contender here this afternoon. I used him second behind Edge of Midnight, but he definitely rates a long look off of that performance last out.
Yeah, I was cracking up when I watched the video last night, and I heard you say that, so I wanted to write it down and make sure I mentioned it. I did put that horse on top, but you went with the number 4 horse in here, Edge of Midnight.
Yeah, this horse was so good last time out. His racing line does not do him credit. He had all kinds of rankness issues and placement issues, and then Leva gave him a great trip turning for home. He looked home and cooled out in the last 16th of a mile, and Furious Shot was exactly that, coming from far back on the far outside. He ran down Edge of Midnight, who was very good off the layoff. The only thing you have to worry about for this horse here today, does he have that race in him to run back? It's his second start off of an extended vacation, but if he runs back to that race, it's not that much of a class hike. If it is even a class hike, I like him here.
Well, number 3, Neo Classic, and if you listen to our replay show that just ran here, you heard Pete saying that there's another turf winner going wire to wire on a turf course yesterday. So if it's still held up, we did have some rain this afternoon, so you're going to have to watch a couple of races before you go. But if not, you got to have the number 3 Neo Classic, I think, on your Perfect 10 ticket. Drop it to the 35,000 level. After shipping in from Laurel, duel for the lead. He weakened as the favorite. He finished 5th. That was against maiden special weight competition. That was a day when the turf course was really not favored favoring speedy types, and I just think that this Neoclassic will run okay today, especially if the turf course plays like it did yesterday.
I have to correct you. The winner of that race, Concord's Cat, went wire to wire.
Yeah, but it wasn't a day where it was like as prevalent as yesterday.
That's a true statement for sure.
Well, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yesterday was frustrating because if you were gambling on the races, if you weren't in front turning for home, the stretch run was almost anticlimactic because you just couldn't make up any ground. So I agree with you there. Neoclassic, to me, calling the race last time, he just looked short. I mean, I think that this is a good spot for him. Second start off a bit of a freshening. He's dropping in class. He does make a lot of sense in here. Number 6, Sorakaima, is not a horse to use in your pick 10, at least not in my opinion. He's 0 for 13. He makes the bottom of my ticket, which is why I say that. I don't want people including him. I think you can't go that deep in this race, and I don't think Sorakaima is a horse that wants to win. As he's proven, he's 0 for 13. That said, he's very reliable. He runs his 70 buyers each and every time out. That's plenty good enough to be plenty competitive here. I just worry about him getting the job done.
Yeah, and he's getting Edgar Prado today, and if anybody's figured out this turf course at this meeting, it has been Edgar Prado. So on my ticket for all those reasons, but like Pete said, don't know if you can add that one to your ticket if you want to keep it pretty sensible today. With that said, you can see the wind is blowing pretty nicely here. It's a beautiful day, actually. And 6.5 furlongs is our 5th race. These are claimants, fillies, 2-year-olds. $30,000 down to $25,000. Jockey on the 6 is now Rodney Sudine. We want to show you race 7 from October 30th. Lay It On Me, and another horse in here, La Esperada, dueling it to the wire.
Everybody's coming out of this race. I wanted to back this replay up a little bit because I think that something to the effect of my call was Lay It On Me's got to do a lot of bit better than that. She's 5 wide turning for home. She was hard ridden at that point in the race, and then all of a sudden she gets resurgent and comes on again. La Esperada splits horses under Edgar Zayas. Those are the top 2 right now. Lay It On Me's going to surge ahead and win it. Here was my issue with Lay It On Me. She ran really, really well that day, but the 2 times that she's won, she's been aggressively handled. Boca Chica is about as aggressive as it gets, and Victor Carrero knows how to use the persuader too, let me tell you. Whereas Josie Gomez is not as much of an aggressive rider. She does very, very well, but it's a completely different riding style, and I don't know that it favors Lay It On Me in this particular instance. This race was tricky. You had Slennyberg, who was back off the screen in that backtrack, as well as Mucho Media. Everybody's coming out of the same race. I went with number 8, La Esperada, as did you, but I don't like this race at all. This race smells like an upset to me.
Oh, La Esperada getting 2 pounds from Lay It On Me this time. I don't know if that much of a difference that makes, but if you're looking for something, 2 horses so close, carried 118, going to carry 116, and Lay It On Me's got to carry 118 again. If you are a proponent of weights, this might be your angle. I went with the number 2 horse in 3rd, Game and Victory. I like this race, Pete. This horse surrendered the lead, fought back, got the lead again. I always liked that he defeated $25,000 maidens by a let. So he showed that he had some fortitude in there. Lost the lead, fought back. I always mark that down when I'm doing my handicapping.
The one thing about Transuente, the 2 horse that you're talking about, I think from a pace standpoint, she has a pretty favorable matchup here because she's going to be on or near the lead. I think she makes an easy lead, in my opinion. I don't know if she can hold off these horses. That's why I say this race is tricky to me, because you have the 1, 4, 5, and 8 all coming out of the same race and all routinely running against each other. And if you were looking for viable alternatives, if you thought that race was, as I would say, phony, which it may or may not be, the alternatives are not all that good. So then it makes for a very competitive race. Number 3, Little Smarty Pants, makes a double jump here this afternoon. She did not beat a very good field last time, but she did it pretty impressively.
Well, we're going to go to our 6th race now. You done with the 5th now?
Yeah, but we're since today's Perfect 10 intensive, I would strongly urge you, however deep you go on your ticket, if you're 4 deep in the maximum side, you use 4 here. This is a race where if you can make it to the 5th, you're in good shape anyway. Don't let this race knock you out.
Well, the 6th race is a 5-furlong turf event. Claimants, fillies and mares 3 and up. Non-winners of 2 in life or 3-year-olds, $12,500. Scratch the 11 in here, I believe, is out, or it's not out yet. It will be out if we stay on the turf. So I did not get it yet, but maybe Pete did. But we're going to show you a video, and this is the from back on October 29th, and it's the stretch run of Rogue's Lady dueling to the wire and finishing second in there, beating a half length. And Peter's shaking his head because I had Hot Cotton Day. It's the one day that I beat him out.
That has nothing to do with it. I'm standing to make a large score should Road Lady track down Hot Cotton at 1-2. You can see she has every opportunity to get by. Hot Cotton drifting out just a little bit, but Rogue Lady's not making any ground anyway. She ends up second that afternoon. She was well back. She was 1-2 under tutelage of Jason Service. Now we move to Dan Pita here today. I don't know what to do with this, but you look at this race and you go, who else is going to be a viable contender? And again, from looking at it from a perfect 10 standpoint, you have to separate horses that can win versus horses that you're taking a shot at in the exotics. I don't have a very long list of horses I think can win.
Just to mention that horse that Hot Cotton came back and ran against Saturday and ran very well, I thought, for stretching it out. Had the lead all the way around, backed up at the end, was stepping up to competition. So if you want to, think about Hot Cotton as a horse to key off of there, I thought that the number 2 horse today, Rogue Lady, ran pretty darn good.
She did. I don't know how she's going to do facing this field this afternoon under a new trainer. Jockey Edgar Zayas gets the return call. I mean, the one thing you can say about her, she had to have needed that last race. Unfortunately for me, I think that was probably the problem. She was a work away from her top performance. She also didn't switch leads, if you notice that backtrack there. We're not allowed to mention that, but she didn't switch leads during that last race. Number 7, Genebra, was third that afternoon behind Rogue Lady. I think she makes some sense. I also think the 5-horse Shot Girl is intriguing. Shot Girl has a victory out 5 furlongs over the turf course. She has to kind of, you go back to the old school handicapping of second start off the layoff. They sent her long. They wanted her on the grass in that race. They didn't get the grass, but they knew she needed the race, so they just let her run anyway. She got absolutely hammered. She doesn't want to go long. She doesn't want to run on the dirt course. Now she's short on the grass after having that tightener. She makes some sense. I think she might get overlooked.
I think you got to put the 9 on your ticket here, and that's vaguely distinctive. Adds blinkers and Paco Lopez. Encountered traffic, steadied at the 3/8 pole last time out. Finishing a dead heat for Ford, beaten only 1.5 lengths.
Billy Badgett, our stage manager, telling us that the turf course will now be labeled good. That was what threw off Mr. Nicoletti there. But that's good that it threw him off, because what he was telling you was bad information anyway. Vaguely distinctive is not a horse to use in your perfect
Sounds like a
10.
bet to me. You're gonna own stock in the Pancake Company by the time I get done there. Turf course will now be listed as good. I didn't know what that Billy was doing. I guess he was making a G with his fingers.
Yeah, he was making a G. He's always very creative when it comes to that. He usually throws you off, but I wasn't fooled.
You want to go to the next race, being that after the 6th comes the 7th race,
I think that's true.
Okay, let's go.
7, 8, 9.
Mile 70 yards, maiden fillies, 2-year-olds, maiden special weight. Scratch the 1, Stephanie's Dream. Number 9, La Camora. What are you doing here? You got pledges all over the place. What do you do with these horses? I mean, you got to use the 4 prom dress who I have on top of my ticket. You have on your ticket. You got the 5-horse on top who I used. Do you go deeper here?
I don't know that you have to go too deep in here, to be honest. I think you probably have to go too deep. That would be TW0 instead of TOO. Prom Dress makes some sense. Avatar makes some sense. Little Nelly makes some sense. I'm intrigued by the 8-horse in here, Storm Star, because Delgado popped with the first-timer going long a couple weeks ago that took some money. This horse has been working like a filly that wants to go long. She gets the long race in her debut run. I want to touch on one thing here. This is information that's not in your racing form for number 5, Avatar. Avatar finished 5th last time out. A horse who finished behind her that afternoon was Backflip, who came back to beat a pretty darn good field of maidens on the grass yesterday. So that's not in your racing form. And Avatar is exiting that race, coming out of a good run in that race. She looks to me like a horse that's crying to go long.
Yeah, and that horse that she was won the last race, Divine Ida, also came back to win on Saturday for Stronach, and Ramon Morales won that race pretty impressively. It looks like that one's a nice horse.
Absolutely. Law beat a stakes-placed horse in the process. That's also not in your racing form here today. So this horse, number 5, Avatar, is the one we're talking about. Exits a very, very live race last time.
Well, I have the number 4 horse on top of my ticket, and Pete also used it on the ticket, and it's Prom Dress, stretching out to 1 mile and 70 yards today after rallying to finish 3rd in its 1-mile debut at Monmouth Park. I got written here, this is a no-no for Pete, right? You're not supposed to use these type of horses coming in from Monmouth, but he has a quandary here because his main jockey is riding this horse today, and that's Jersey Joe Bravo. So I see he put it on the ticket. I know he wants to put it on top, but rule number 28 says he can't.
Pretty soon he's going to be doing the show by himself and just having what I would have said if I was here. The chair will be here, but I don't need to be because you just took the words right out of my mouth in absolute perfectness there. I don't like to use horses from New Jersey, but I can't not use Bravo. Exactly right.
All right, so there is our seventh race of the afternoon. We've been doing the show so long together now, we're just taking each other's places. Let's go to the eighth race.
Well, I do want to mention one thing about prom dress that maybe is irrelevant information, but I don't think she's going to be finding any state-bred races to run in. She's a North Carolina bred.
North Carolina bred. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't notice that at least. So that's something. But in the Pletcher barn, it doesn't matter if they're from Beirut. They somehow learn how to run.
Very true.
The eighth race, 1 mile on the turf. Maiden 2-year-olds claimers, 25,000. Scratch the 13 Whiskey Ding. We got a video we want to show you from October 13th, and it's Kid Gallivan's racing greenly through the stretch that day.
Yeah, I wanted you to see this. I don't know if this is a good backtrack or a bad backtrack. Sometimes you just need to see and draw your own conclusions. Kid Gavilan on the outside, you see he's on the wrong lead. Boca Chica's trying to get him to go on. It almost looked on the program or on the racing forum that day that Bold Animo was drifting out. It's not really the case. The nine's getting in really bad. Now, Boca Chica did claim foul against this horse, but Kid Gavilan was very, very green. He was on the wrong lead. Still ended up finishing second a neck. He was probably the best in that race. He came back the next time to be favored and not run very well. Finished a closing fourth. Gets a jockey change, gets a trainer change. I don't know what to do with him. I used him second, so did Ronnie. We're both on the Bill Mott horse, who's dropping in class, coming in from New York.
Yeah, he had a big class dropper win yesterday, but it was a bigger class drop than this. But this one's dropping to the $25,000 level. As you mentioned, for Bill Mott, faced tougher on the turf on the New York circuit. Like I said, big class dropper win the other day for Bill Mott. So looks like he's spotting him where he wants him to win. If someone takes him, they take him. So Tara, for those reasons, on top. Kid Gavilan, for all the reasons he mentioned. I used the number one ability in here, debuting for Terry Pompey. Set the pace last time out, weekend to finish third at this same level and distance. Was up at Monmouth on the turf. I know that in his rule book, you can go from the turf and run here and not be in, even though he did not use it. Terry Pompey, 23% with the 61 to 180 day freshening.
Horse makes a little sense. Value Tempo, who was the horse that beat him in that race, has actually come back to run here in South Florida. Not very well, I might add. So that was the reason Variability didn't make my ticket. But tactically, I like this. He took a big step forward from his second start, from his first start, showed improved speed, and ran a very, very good race. Stands a chance. Leandro Gonçalves on the grass is never a bad way to go. Another horse I used is number 8, Affirmed to 7, a son of Simon Pure for Kathleen O'Connell, working like a horse that wants to go long on the grass. It's not been much of a speedy work tab, but that's okay when you're going long on the grass. Veteran reinsman and go-to rider for this outfit, Eduardo Nunez, is up. I think this horse might rate a chance. For me, this is a spread in the Rainbow or in the Perfect 10. I don't know if you can afford to do it at this point in the day, but you're going to have to do it.
You would think in the ninth race today, Pete, 1 mile, allowance optional claim of filly mares.
Where you're going with this,
you have
and
a
I
single
agree.
in here with Dream
Yes.
Malicious going back to the dirt, making a bid, flattening out, finished fourth. But that was in the stake, soaring softly. Here's a stat: Peter Walder, 48% with horses going from the turf to the dirt. Looks like strictly the one to beat in here, and probably going to be a single on everybody's Perfect 10 ticket.
I don't know about everybody, but I agree with that completely. Even from a tactical standpoint, Dreamlicious is going to get a stalking trip. Polka Dot Bikini on the stretch out and horsing around from the 7 post. They're going to go at it. Dreamlicious will likely stalk off that. I'm sure Prado will want to work off the fence, or if they pocket him up, that's all right too. If you look at the competition in this race, there's really not much of it relative to what Dreamlicious is running against. She got beat 5 lengths to Angelica Zapata. Go through your form and handicap and ask yourself objectively, could anybody else in this race get within 5 lengths of Angelica Zapata? If you handicap like me, you'll say no. And if you say that, you have to single her. I think Ronnie's onto something there.
Yeah, and I also used the number 3, Cleveland. Not a very popular name here in South Florida right now, but trying the dirt after winning 1 of 4 on the grass. Marty Wolfson, I can't leave this guy off the ticket when he goes turf to dirt. He's 31%. Edgar Zayas, Rise. Horses, as I mentioned, not a popular name, but he might be a sneaky in this race and run well, going from the turf to the dirt for a barn that excels at that.
But I don't get it. Why do you, he did this the other day, Wolfson, with Baltazar. Why are you doing this? What are you putting this filly on the dirt for? Granted, he's a great trainer, and I'm not a trainer, so this is not like taking a shot. I'm just intrigued. I don't understand it. Cleveland's bred to run on the grass. She showed that her best races have been on the grass. I don't know what the motivation is, and that's why I didn't use her.
Well, I used the 2 polka dot bikini, just an itsy bitsy bit on my ticket there. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to single Dream Malicious. Pretty bad, huh?
Especially when the dam is itsy bitsy bikini.
Oh, it is. Let's go to the 10th race and get away from, don't forget, the perfect 10. Now we got a big horse getting in off the also eligible list here. This race 10, 5 furlongs, maiden claim is fillies, 2-year-olds, $25,000. Scratch the 14, 15, and 16. Number 13, Leroy's Baby, gets in. This one is bred for the grass. Added it to my ticket, my perfect 10 ticket. Not on here yet. I didn't change it, but on my ticket, it's up there from the Kirk Zadie barn.
I didn't even know she was in until just right now. I did get the scratches, but I didn't actually absorb them, if that makes any sense. 13 rates a big look in here. Do we have a backtrack to show here of Kate's Great? I hope so.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, this is the one you wanted to show.
Yeah,
Kate's
I did.
Great.
I wanted to show you this because I wanted you to see what exactly you're up against here. Kate's Great in the debut run. That's her on the outside in the pink colors. Now, the horse on the lead that afternoon breaks her rein, and you can see that Kate's Great is now veering to the outside. If you watch the head-on of that race, Fontenez really moves her to the outside. She's in about the 9 or 10 path. And then when they turned for home that day, she just looked like it blew her mind. It was her first start of her life. She was very, very well regarded in that race. And all of us thought that she'd be a very, very nice horse in her next run. Unfortunately for us, she hooked our Sassy Lass, who was a Kirk Zadie drop down out of the Stallion Stakes, showed speed and then couldn't stay on with her. But went 22 and 1 to get it. I don't know about you, but I don't think anybody can go that fast early on in here, although maybe the 13 can keep up after showing 22 speed at Churchill. I think Kate's Great makes a big class drop here today, gets her rider switch. She has some upside to me, and I think that she'll get, I don't know that she'll get forgot about, but especially with the 13 drawing in, she's going to offer you some value here.
And here's the thing. Every horse that's in this race, including the 13 that got in, have never been on the turf.
That's not a true statement.
No, it is. Who's on the turf?
Grunya finished third on the grass back in June.
Right. Yeah, one. I was marking down. I was looking at all the alsos in there. So.
But the point of the story is still the same, though, because Grunya's recent form has been ugly. So you have a bunch.
So one horse is finished on the turf. We're right on the turf.
Yes, one horse is run on the turf. You have a lot of horses that are either debuting or making their first start at 5 furlongs. I mean, that's true of all these horses. They've been running 3/4 and 5.5. So speed should be a good weapon of choice, and I think Kate's Great has it. I like her here, even with the 13 drawing in.
Yeah, and don't forget that the reason the 13 got in, the number 1, Papa Dolce, was scratched in there. I used Nora's Music, so did you on your ticket. I used 3-member and can't miss, but I'm definitely adding the 13 to my ticket because that barn has beaten me a lot of times in the past, and the breeding is just incredible for the grass.
Well, you know better about that than I do on the breeding. But interesting post draw from the horse from a tactical standpoint. Showed speed in the debut run at Churchill. Is going to have to go from way out there. We'll have some pace to deal with in Kate's Great. That may be the matchup early and often in the finale today.
Well, that's it. Good luck with your perfect 10 tickets. When we come back on Wednesday, Pete, after today's day, Wednesday, we got a big carryover in the Rainbow Six, 150,000 guaranteed.
We sure do. It's a 5-day race week next week, Wednesday through Sunday, the racing schedule, and then we'll move right into Thanksgiving week and closing weekend of the Fall Turf Festival meeting here at Gulfstream Park West. I'm not looking forward to that at all. I'm enjoying each and every afternoon. And speaking of enjoying your afternoon, we hope you do as well. Good luck with your perfect 10 selections here this afternoon. My advice, again, I would have to be top heavy on my ticket. Try to get winners that nobody else has and stay alive. And then if you get knocked out, just hope for a consolation.